Oh, 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 oh. Alright, brush fill brush. Let's see. Let's break the matrix. Let's see. No. All of the pixels. I want all of the pixels. Do 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 do. So we got this space time cheese taco. It's really a cheesy myth taco legend salad envelope. Oops. Let me get the go back to brush. I got a drawing pad. I guess you already know that. So longest. All right. Longest intro ever. So, you may have seen the. Am I drawing this right? I don't think I am. Am I doing the draw? Anyway. All right, come on. I can't. I'm in like an awkward position too. Whew. All right, this is gonna look terrible. You've seen all these. Basically, it ends up with a weird kind of shape, if you will. I'm getting real suggestive here. And then there's just where there's like an opening there. It's like a Klein bottle, and it kind of goes through itself, and then comes out another side, and it looks like a big piece of cheese or something, and so on. So this is more or less what we found. Good stuff, right? And we're basically like in one of these bubbles, just kind of like walking along the edge, like, what is this? Why is this? Knock knock. What is happening? Why is this? And then why it happened is kind of crazy. But we just roll around the universe. I can actually. Okay, so here we go. Pew. All right, we just downsized again. Now we're back at the this is like the Sagittarius, where it all began, and so in the orbital system, those who were basically stationed on an outpost, an artificially stabilized outpost, basically tech instead of like basically. Excuse me. If somebody who had done the work used tech to get there, it makes more sense because basically they can control the weight because it's kind of like a membrane pulling at this point of the consciousness there. And here you have a stable platform because everyone's here. It's like everyone's sitting on it, so it's not going to go nowhere. Here it's like an iceberg that moves as fast as the one driving it or sustaining it resists it, and it has the weight of the universe, like it's the back end kind of swinging around, and so it has a lot of power. So people that were here set up a post, and so as our consciousness moves throughout the cycle, they would basically choose how to shape the consciousness. They would identify it, and they have people basically informants going back and forth. And so whatever would happen here would be, say, like I don't know, you do something here, or you get a great accomplishment, it's on Earth or something. Like the energy is to a certain, well, it wouldn't be like that. The energy is to a certain degree of basically like that. And so the point is, the energy here, you can wield it, and it's like, there you go. But it carries the weight of this behind it. So whatever you direct here is going to end up flowing whichever way you do it and influencing this world, Earth. They set this up, and we're literally, whoever passed through there, you either had to be programmed to the point where you're not going to basically go against it, or you're basically working for it. And now this whole system goes from one layer to the other of unconscious, where they can't even see the wavelength, and consciousness, where it's big and obvious, and it's on TV and media and this, that, and the other, and you can't miss it. You can see it in everyday stuff. So the people who are like, what are you talking about? Why? So whatever fears you have are programmed in on this point. It doesn't exist until that point was set up. It did, but not they weren't these fears. And again, this could be a system to overcome fear. Everything could be, in a way, not what you think as well as what you think exactly. It kind of depends on perspective. For instance, the animals. You could say they're doing whatever they're doing. And how are they going to, like, squirrel or something? And you'd be like, damn, that sucks. It's like, you just got to run around all day, get all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he could probably be having the time of his life, and you never knew it. And he's, like, flying around from tree to tree, happy, like, literally looking around for nuts and finding them. And every time he's like, what? Oh, my gosh, another one! In his mind and his chemistry and maybe his spirit, if that's there, there's nothing wrong. He's literally, the amount of maybe stress, toxicity, damage from what's going on, and the amount of well-being he receives from that might be in a perfect balance, which is, how it works. Now, however, when you scale that up to his mind, his consciousness complexity, that, like, variant system is only a very small portion of what's going on here. And so now you see people who projected themselves out to these kind of orbital positions gained artificial capacity, intelligence capacity, and power, and changed a lot of things, more or less. If whatever happened there, it stayed there, but the waves were like a tsunami that were ages. They changes of ages, renaissances, civilization ending events, so on. It's almost as if it's planned or played out, and so on, and blah, blah. And this big issue. It's not a secret if you're looking at the universe. People on YouTube are figuring out how the universe works. Kids are figuring it out. Children, adolescents, young men and women, young women and men, young women and men. I don't know about that. And so, but the point is, this whole thing is literally like, wow, well, when are we gonna get out of that? And then there's all this, basically, it's time. It's time and space, and so where we have what we resistance and requirements for what we need here. It is, oh, come on, don't do that. I guess I'll just use the mouse when I do this. Oh no. The universe went dark. Resource, here we go with the spelling. My gosh, it is hot in here. Resource, value, time, energy. So ultimately, that's what we're looking at. It's in that self-contained system. If you're really debating, or if you're, determining what's important about this information, as a species, we only have access to what's in that system. So, more or less, we're looking at our max resource limit. And this could be time, energy for survival, informational capacity for our society, civilization, consciousness capacity, however you want to look at it. The point is, it's not that there's a dwindling supply or just, people got to mess stuff up here. It's consciousness, though, because, you can change the grid and it changes the whole system. It's the fact that all of this has been excluded because people wanted to rule here. Basically, I really don't know why, but maybe again, it was just to hold on for enough time where we could get situated, or they were just stealing all the tech and gold. And so, it was still to get situated, because why wasn't that stopped? Because basically they were hiding and we're off the map, and once we're on the map, there, help can be received and so on, but that can't happen until then. But then you can't tell them to stop and postpone their behavior until authorities show up, if you will, or help for everyone. And you can't tell them, the authorities, to show up because people are here that want to do bad things that haven't, and so on and so forth. This problem creates itself and solves itself in time, but you just have to survive it, basically, or go through it. Not really survive it, but want to more or less be a part of something as more or less corrupt as this. But that's the problem. The difficulty is maintaining yourself, your selfhood, in the midst of collective corruption and ignorance and so on. The idea is, what we found is, depending on how these systems work, our time is inside of and or basically reflexive, like a recursive spectrum of some other time, as if they're mirrors of one another. I'll let you ponder about that for a while. But so the idea is the myth. So say how this works is you go out here and you're like, yo, friggin', there's a boogeyman that goes over here, does that, and is like this and looks like that. By the time that goes all the way down here, it goes from a stupid thing somebody said to a silly story to a creepy story to a myth to literally maybe a night, like a delusion, if you will, like something recurring nightmares people have, and they don't even remember why they have them. They don't even remember. It's just they see it in the clouds and they draw about it in scary pictures, blah, 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 stories, movies. So the point is, what changes this world, what's most powerful, is your ability to influence the mind, is your ability to influence your own conception of your own personal, legend, and in that sense, your collective legend, because you really don't make your own personal legend unless you, I guess, want to. But that would kind of be like walking out into the dark until you were the only thing shining, and then using that to shine your way through the world, which would be cool. But yeah, I guess you gotta throw a dog on a bone. But maybe see the sun star, because I'm serious. And so what's it called? And so then the point is, we're kind of in this interplay, just like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Resources. Oh wait, there's the other. As much as weren't, now there's that. And so the point is, it's not only as much as we are low here, it just goes here and balanced out. There's so many of that going on that it doesn't make sense to view things in terms of scarcity, unless you want that. And so this, again, don't really blame people, because most people didn't know, and it's just how it works. I mean, especially if everybody's at war, I mean, it's just how it works. I mean, I'm not saying it's cool and let them do it, but I'm just saying shit was crazy and blah, blah. And so, and I'm saying this because help more or less arrived, and it was really just like a self-awareness within everybody to snap out of the fact that our loops were controlling us. And, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying myself for any type of pleasure or like ritual abuse type stuff, but it's the same thing. Whereas if they're like, yeah, and the abuse and this, that, if you come up and there's fear and you're like, shit, I'm going to overcome this next time and like stand up to them, the more you don't, the harder that becomes a loop. And people were stuck in these fear loops, and then they're just ruling over them in all these bullshit realities. So it was the same thing of just trying to overcome the consciousness loop and so on. And so, but the point is then, so they were royalty. You got, and not like the royalty of today, but of the whole people. And so they came and claimed that all the money and gold in the world, the time, the resource, the value, the authority belonged to them. And that's it. That's where it comes from in the universe. They invented it. It doesn't come anywhere else. Soon enough, sure enough people got to talking, enough word got out, people stopped hiding behind closed doors and this, that, and the other, and really asking for help. And we were informed pretty much that it's not even the oldest trick in the book. It's like something so stupid no one who actually could look out and see the stars would ever believe, because what the hell is that? And so the point is, they are like, we're your ancestors. We got your gold. We're going to come give you money if you give us soul, and then we trade. And as more you trade us, the higher up you go, and you get the more money, the more power, and the more worldly power, and this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, they were just people from here that were playing a trick to keep their power through mind control and debauchery. And they were saying, we're the ancestors, we're the farthest up the line, we come from the beginning, we have the core, the source, everything. You stick with us, we'll explain it all, and we'll force it all, blah, blah, blah. We can't lose. And it was not the case. And so, the idea is, the true ancestors are not people who come from the systems, if you will, that we can reach with our own minds. They're so far beyond it that because nobody in the world, really nobody in the universe, not even the entire collective put together, can overpower them. And they don't do anything but say, yo, why are you doing that? When there's all this other stuff to do. And it's really weird, but for everybody else, it's just like, yeah, that makes sense. And then for the, like the children and so on, and people getting sent to war. And then everybody else is just literally just like, shoot him, what is this? Why are you invading? Get out away from our rape factories. We need that. You don't understand. And so, point is, the real ancestors come so far off in time that they truly do hold the wealth of everything. However, it's not time, it's time, but it's consciousness and how many cycles you can basically fit in a balance that can then scale up to other systems to the point where you basically have infinite time. But the point is, the resource is love. The more you shut out the domains that access or open access to multidimensional awareness to the point where you can pretty much remain as you are by not breaking under the stress, but rotating, shifting, adapting, not expanding, but the multidimensional proportional increase and all that, your perspective shifts, and then you are what you always are, but you figure out continually that you're always infinite by comparison to what you're in or what you're measured by. So the true ancestors are outside the whole system altogether. It's just like waves of energy on the outside that could beam like a thought in or something. I don't mean, not like a tech, but kind of similar, I guess. But it would, like, tech is that, and then it's like all this generation stuff, and then the true thing would just be a mind bubble, like a core of it, and then but then the capacity is pure mind mixed with a capacity of love. It's like intelligent affinity, where they can't be wrong, and they also never want to hurt or anything. Everything is perfect and beautiful and loving because they already know we're the ones that are going to make a mistake, and they already know what can go wrong, and they're always going to be, not like comforting, but more so supportive. And so on. And as well, you got free will, so you can just go off into the abyss if you want. It will suck, and there will always be guides and helpers and like barriers, but you could go off and like, yay, and then that's like one day, and you could accidentally get stuck in one of these and end up really, really weirded out. But that's the universe, and people were doing that with tech, and then mixing weird abuse and stuff, and so we ended up with that gravity fence of shitty memories that are like consciousness grooves that are stitched into reality, that the more people do it, it builds up that memory pyramid that I was drawing in the other video, and you have to ascend through that in order to get out of that groove system. And so they built up this huge system with all their debauchery, so it's like every human is trapped in here under a weight of ritual abuse, basically, that they haven't even known yet because it's in these thick-ass gravity bands stuck around. The whole point is, we do a core of love here, it breaks it, dissolves it, slowly dissolves it. As you see the compassion increasing, it's like, oh, the density the stuff from cosmic rays are being mitigated, and the war and the Dyson spheres. I mean, that stuff is what I was told as well, but I'm pretty sure they're just saying we're losing, shit's fucked up, everybody's getting happier, and our shit's not working anymore, because it was based upon debauchery, which is parasitism. Because if they're floating out here going, shit, we gained 3 billion years of energy by triangulating our systems, but sneaking around and pretending we're human soul, draping ourselves in baby human souls and shit, and now we got to go back. But let's go high five everybody. Oh, we love you, yeah, we get more energy. No, they're gonna go back and kill people and do fucked up shit, and that's how they do it. And that means they're parasites because it's easier for them to do that, and that's just what they were accustomed to doing. That had to change. Again, it's not about revenge or anything like that. That has to change. That had to change. And so, we wouldn't be here if it didn't. And there's somewhere there's a 2012 reset that we had anyway. So the point is, these are binary star systems that don't exist because there's only one, and but it's a huge resonant system. And the source of your being is so far away that it started with just a bit of compassion and a thought or an intention, and that went and rippled and created your entire world. And so if you ever want the source, it's beyond the creation of the world. That's the whole point. But and then they're in here just like, yeah, and that had to end. That didn't, because they were sucking up all the soul energy, basically doing this because nobody let them into here. It was literally like they were taking the energy and they were sending people out as drones, but they couldn't actually leave. They couldn't actually leave the planet because their genetics were marked, and couldn't reproduce and so on. And that's part of the system building a soul train, an unbroken train to eternity. Wow, again, to eternity from the depth, if you will, of creation, and in doing that, it's almost as like your spiritual source, creator, if you will, is there while here through you, and you're eternally, in that, while they're just doing the same thing they always are doing. And the point is that got broke. That's based upon love with yourself deep down to the core in your being, to the point where it's at the seed, and that got broken from the amount of trauma. And that was what that was intended to do. But the point is, funny drawings. You have this core of consciousness there. I drew this before, and the seed here is pretty much you. All this is, it's almost like digital processing within holographic storage, and it's like a cloud, but what you represent in that is a potential of intention and how far you're going to go based upon whatever you want. And more, that's basically the intention is, how much you have here and how much you're focusing here. If you're focusing here, you're drawing your power away from there. But the point is, in every moment, you have this system. Well, I guess you have this system in every moment. And so I'll just describe it right now. It just happened, and you went, and you had a thought. By the time your physical body, your lips, your mind, all of that began to register that, this is what it became. Within you is that spiritual source that's sending out the intentions. We have this grid in us, if you will. It's like a program corrupted system. It's the ego, and it's when it forces that freedom to express that feeling out in ways that are redirected from the truth in the core perspective. So what you want, because when it goes out like this, it ends up like that out here. It doesn't get out. There's only one path, which is the straight path directly through, where you don't even look to the sides. If you look to the sides, you're going to the sides. If you look straight up in the center, you're going to the center. That's how it works. And so, but this is the only time you're actually you. And that's what I was saying before in these kind of mandala pictures and stuff. But if you're floating around the side, you kind of got to make sense. And then you see going down the hole, blah, 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 flat, blah, 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 blah. All right, thank you.